We are live. Welcome to my thoughts on Arrow Season 1, Episode 18, Salvation. The episode's rated is TV-14, so will this video be? There will be spoilers for the episode and all the ones leading up to it. Yeah, another episode that I absolutely love. This had some of the best action so far in the show. Let's see. I think we're going to start with some general things. So I really appreciated them, wrapping up seemingly wrapping up the search for Sarah. I suppose Dinah is still trying. Or no, wait. I guess maybe by the end she has accepted that. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Most likely Sarah is dead. I think they're doing a really good job of the thing with the I guess undertaking. I still don't know what to call the group. But yeah, um, with Frank dying. And the thing about the symbol, it's a map of the Glades. They're doing something with the Glades. That's yeah. I love the way they're handling the mystery, just giving us these little drip feeds of here and there we'll find out, oh, the person that's involved with this is Tommy's father, and he's this episode in the subtitles identifies him as Dark Archer, which is a very cool name. The guy taking hostages, according to the subtitles, is Savior. I'm not sure he called himself that but that's a part where the title Salvation comes from. Yeah, I think that is it for the general stuff. So let's get into the chronological. So yeah, I love how there's a certain casual nature to the way that yeah, it's that's that's Arrow. He's just hanging, from the ceiling by his hands with the, like Felicity, the way she stares at him, there is a little bit of like, am I sure that's who I want for my boss for this, but like Dig doesn't act like it, like, what are you doing up there? Just like that's what he does. And then he like jumps down from that far up, like, holy crap. Um yeah, and they have a conversation, and Felicity's like, maybe he didn't know, but clearly like he knew. Um and Yeah, she is now okay with she's 100% okay with crossing his name off the you know the list. And yeah, um I guess it's time to hood up or shut up. And I thought this was another really fun twist on, because again, you can't have every episode just be, well, I'll or the Arrow part. I mean, obviously there's always something else going on, but the Arrow part can't just be, he has a name in the book, he goes and, takes the guy out with ease. That was like the sort of baseline set up in the first episode. And let's see, I think they did one or two episodes with just that. Since then, there's always some twist. And yeah, like it was really great, because like for a second there we thought, oh, that must be Arrow, but then like, he's he's dragging him away. He's not saying you have failed this city. There's something we're going. And then we see Arrow actually arrive, and yeah, turns out another vigilante beat him to it. It's awkward, but it happens, And yeah, the thing with, he does the live feed to everyone. What was it? Everyone in every cell phone in the Glades or something like that, and she sends it to Oliver as well, and they watch. And yeah, uh it's genuinely like that is again, they're actually exploring, by this point, by this time in making media like this, there was, we kind of had to criticize vigilantes, and yeah, here we see, because, like, you know in some ways Savior is like Arrow. And yeah, Arrow points out, you're taking away his chance to redeem himself, and that's the big difference. That's why Arrow is hero or anti-hero. We can quibble over that, but not villain. It is like, yeah. And I do really appreciate, like, I guess I'm not 100% sure about the DA, because he did say, well, I have so many cases. I'm slightly unclear on if he's meant to be like an example of Savior going too far, or if that's still supposed to be like, what's the word? An example of him doing, going after someone that Oliver might also go after. But yeah, with Roy, and it's such a good, like, classic, yeah, if you really want to heighten the drama, you get someone that the audience is already, we already have feelings about. Like, I could imagine some people watching might not, be the biggest fan of him, might say, he's making excuses or something, but you don't want him gunned down like that. That's just not right. And yeah, it's that thing. He's a kid. He still has a chance to right his life, to make up for it. And yeah, I thought they did that really, really well. Unsure about the DA, but certainly by the time we get to Roy, yeah, we the audience feel like he's going too far. This is just wrong. So yeah. Yes. Chronological. Let's see. So yeah, the thing about, Oliver's about to go cross another name off. If they can't find, well, when they can't find, Nickel, I think was his name. And yeah, Dig points out, this is not healthy. This is, you really have to slow down. And the thing about, I'll take you out for dinner. And he goes from not hungry to, didn't realize how hungry I was. You're gonna wait for me to finish before you launch into the speech? And that's, again, you kind of gotta point out, because, like, by this point we know how this goes. Mentor character has to impeach. It trumps on my brain. What can I say? Impart wisdom. So yeah, and Oliver is also, well aware this is how this goes. And yeah, by the end of the episode, he's like, trying to reconnect with Laurel. And that's, of course, also a thing. Like, he was the one who said to her that they shouldn't, hang out. She doesn't really have a problem with it. She is okay with the fact that, well, they used to be together, now they're not. They can still be friends. They knew each other for years before, the let's see. I mean, it was him cheating on her with Sarah. That was the really big thing that yeah, caused a rift. They were friends for years before that happened. Like, one thing is not going to erase all of that. Other than that, it was, yeah. There are so many positive memories. And let's see. I think the does that bring us to the let's see. What's the other thing? I have to say, when Mr. Merlin, when he called Moira and said they caught one of the Triad people and he's gonna say everything for a reduced sentence, I thought that was like a test, like to see, you know how like in the Hateful Eight, he goes around saying, "So, this woman next to me, she's worth a lot of money," and he's like waiting for the, trying to see if one of them goes like, because like, okay, that guy's definitely gonna try to, kill me to get to her, kind of thing. But yeah, the fact that, yeah, I'm slightly unsure on if that really was a trap, because I feel like maybe he called everyone and said, "Oh, by the way, I have the, we're gonna have the names very soon," because like to see is anyone gonna run, because he can probably catch them if he's watching them, if he's close enough, fast enough. He has resources. He doesn't have to catch them in person, at least not immediately. Um, yeah, I really appreciate the fact that yeah. When Oliver comes back, he's like, no, no, Nickel wasn't gone. He was taken. And I don't know who they are. I don't know what they want. If it's money, I can tell you Brian Mills doesn't have a lot. What he does have is a very particular set of skills. But I think that brings us to the necking session. Do kids still call it that? I think there's a yeah. They're just they're trying to her gum is like sticking to some of like to part of her mouth. He's just trying to be a nice good, trying to help out, get it loose from there. And yeah, the thing about, oh, now you want to go, well, not all of us have butlers. Very, very, yeah, great exchange. And let's see. Yeah. Uh, Roy won't let the guy come all the way in, and he looks, oh, there's a girl there. Have I seen you before? Yeah, I'm Thea Queen. Okay, fine, don't tell me. You don't have to make fun of me. And, he tells the time and place, and understandably she's like, so what happens at that time? And he's like, well, I'm more focused on right now. And yeah, understandably she needs to see, so she she goes for the bag, and yeah, finds a gun. And the exchange, why do you need a gun? Because I'm no good with knives. Don't you remember? I just get stabbed. That's what happens when a knife is around me. I'm very uncomfortable around knives now. I have a knifephobia. And he actually takes all the bullets out, which is a significant gesture. Doesn't erase the fact that there were bullets in there. He took hold of a loaded gun, and he was gonna hold up, and like, I mean, I think the fact that he so readily removes the bullets means that he had no intention of shooting, but that's all well and good. It's not nothing, at least, but studies show a gun greatly increases the chances that it will be fired. Like this, fantasy that a lot of conservatives have of just, solving the situation and no stray bullets. Statistics just don't bear that out. That is much less likely. And he says, oh, but the guy's a creep. He deserves it. Which, oh god. And yeah. It's a really, really strong scene. Not the strongest in the entire episode, but just there's so much going on there. I love it. So basically, he he's so accustomed to this idea that when, like, his argument to when he's talking to her about it and trying to get her, he wants to soothe her. He doesn't want her upset about this. But what he says is the guy deserves it. He's a creep. Like, that's, yeah. Um, because that is the kind of thing that you tell yourself. And I'm not saying, it's not impossible that there's truth to it, but, like, nobody deserves to be held up, held at gunpoint like that. That's, like, obviously there are situations where it can't be solved without it, but to say that someone outright deserves it, and again, this is not a situation where it can't be helped, so yeah. And the thing about, he says, in the Glades, this is how it is. There are certain things you have to do if you want to make it to 21, and she points out, I got you a job working for my brother. You have options. You don't have to be a criminal. And yeah, I mean, that's it's very sad, but there are stories like this out there. Things like this have happened, minus the, costumed vigilante with ninja powers, but yeah. I really, really love how they're handling that character. It's just so effective. Yeah, there's more about his character, but I think I want to try to go chronological. So let's see. I guess the next thing was maybe the yeah, I think so yeah, the DA, and Felicity manages to track him. Right, I love the line, Oliver, no offense, do I tell you how to sharpen your arrows? Ouch. I feel like she purposefully picked, like, something that wouldn't necessarily, like, she could have said, like, like something about his training or something, but, like, I feel like sharpening arrows is probably one of the lesser, just, yeah. I don't know, she still got zingers about the whole arrow thing, earlier. I guess that was before she knew, but she did suspect that there was something off about him and his stories. But she said, bow and arrow, pretty silly, huh? Yeah, she manages to track, and Oliver. We get some of the best parkour. Like, holy crap! So, like, jumping between roofs. He jumps from the roof of a building onto the roof of a car, and then jumps further down and parkours across the street. Like, does a roll, just several shots where he's just jumping through the air between rooftops and such. Like, so freaking cool. And yeah, he checks every single room in the building, and then suddenly the tracker says, oh, or the tracking, whatever, says he's somewhere else. And so Oliver gets there. It's a vacant lot, and they're not able to save the DA, and she witnessed his death. And yeah, really, really devastating. Just, yeah. I think, is that maybe where we have the, so yeah, Frank meets with Moira, and they talk about, we probably should get our families safe. It's they're gonna, they might figure out that it's us, and the yeah, and that is again a thing of, like, organized crime. They target your family too. They don't just go for you. That's, there's that thing, Dark Archer says, a message needs to be sent, and Moira, pleads with him and says, you know, it has been sent. The email went through. I saw it with my own eyes. And thankfully does manage to save his family. Yeah, I think, does that bring us to the, let's see. Yeah, so we have, Oliver sees Felicity standing with one of his arrows and just twiddling with it, just like, yeah, she's really struggling with, we also saw her get up and just leave the computer, and I really love that Dig just doesn't say, what are you doing? Get back to the, just, because like, one could understand, like, from a, if if you're 100% mission oriented, say like, no, we could still find him. Okay, we can't send the DA, but Savior's still out there. Maybe you can find him, but just, yeah. But yeah, Oliver sees her there and goes up to her and it's like, Felicity, put down my arrow, you're gonna break it. No, he says, basically, are you okay? And or where's Dig? And she says, I asked him to leave me alone, with my loud voice. She, yeah, understandable, and she, yeah, she blames herself. She is certain that she should have done better, and he's dead because of her. And that is, and Oliver points out, this is the thing with what we do, which is a wonderful vague sentence, but yeah, we know what he means, and it's true. That is, sadly, you can't save everyone. And I thought that worked really well as well with the Lance family thing, because like for a while, looks like all three of them are Graham Linehaning. I need to get a new reference for that. I'm starting to sound like I am as obsessed with Graham Linehan as he is with trans people who've done absolutely nothing other than like live their truth in a 100% harmless way. But yeah, like there's practically, the wall is covered, like all they're missing is the conspiracy, the red string combining, but yeah. And it was, I did appreciate the way that, yeah, Quentin, puts his hand on, oh, wait, was it, crap, I forget who put their hand on whose shoulder, but one of the parents put their hand on the other's, and then that parent put their hand on the other's hand, like these little, yeah, affection, little, what's the word again? Displays of affection. It is seemingly bringing them closer together. But it is also, you have to be careful with stuff like that. You have to process it and you have to move on, and it's not easy. I speak from experience, but it's necessary. And yeah, Laurel saying, I'm sorry, I thought that Quentin would be able to convince Dinah that, Sarah is dead, and yeah. Right, I think so let's see, the following, I believe, the thing with watching deleted scenes is you gotta keep track of what if you talk about it in this format. I believe the following was in the deleted scene. The deleted scene for Huntress Returns. That was also something. At first, I was thinking like, is this Helena trying to like get a message across to Oliver? But turned out not to be the case. But Quentin goes into Laurel's apartment. Dinah's already there, and they talk about how he buried himself in work, and she left. It was the hardest thing she ever had to do. Which is very true when mothers leave a home where they have offspring and they leave it with the father. Even if he isn't abusive, which in this case, he wasn't, he was abusing himself, but not either of them, but yeah. And yeah, you know, she says something like, I may have left, but you left me first, you know, when he, yeah, because of work. And she calls him on, you know, he claims, well, work was always, and she points out, no, but you know, it was more after, and you chose that. You took every case that came across your desk. And yeah, I guess I'll do the next, yeah, I've been neglecting their storyline a little bit, so let's do the next bit. So we have the, yeah, so Laurel, you know, on her computer looking at stuff, and I appreciate that that did turn out, you know, at first I was thinking, well, Laurel, not you too, but it was her, you know, making sure that, you know, because she ends up disproving their theory. But yeah, and then Thea comes up, and Laurel's like, kind of busy right now, you know, and then they have, you know, the, what was it, almost woman, two woman talk, and the thing about, you know, bad, so I'm dating someone who could be described as a bad boy. Um, you've dated a gajillion of, not a gajillion, guilty as charged. Laurel talking lawyer to Thea, and yeah, you know, the thing, you know, well, my first instinct is run. Oh, I'm sorry, I gotta go. We'll continue this later. So, you know, she didn't get advice because she said, I know my first instinct was run too, but yeah. I think yeah, so the, yeah, you know, she gets, you know, so her parents are there at Laurel's, and you know, yeah, Jen shows up, and Laurel is like, Jen, these are my parents, and Jen is the woman in the picture, you know, and because that's the thing, like the thing that Dinah kept pointing to was, or you know, the thing that made her feel so confident was the hat, the cap, and that just means that it's someone from that area, you know. It's not a unique cap. It's just specific to Central City. So that's crap. Sorry, Starling City. I am less familiar with the DC cities that are not Metropolis or Gotham. Sorry, Starling City. You know, she was from Starling City, and yeah, she traveled, and yeah, just because it was a slightly blurry photo. The one thing they had to go off was the hat. Yeah, and the conversation they have. You know, why were you so confident that she had the hat on when she left? And she explains the whole thing, and she said, I let her go because she's following her heart, just like I did once. I killed her, you know, and that, yeah, that is something that sometimes you have to, that's a really, really self-destructive thought. You have to find a way to, yeah, grieve in a healthy way. You know, there's not really any wrong way to grieve. Everybody grieves different. Don't worry about if you're going through the 5 stages. That's an oversimplification, and it's not universal. And if you need to lean on someone else, there's nothing wrong with that. We got to get past this ridiculous individualist, you know, this worshiping of the unique one, and we should all stand alone. It's, yeah, um, that was really, really powerful. That was, yeah, very emotional scene, and they handled it just right. I really, really loved when Quentin went and hugged her, because again, there's several things going on there. For one thing, it's exactly what she needs and deserves. because she didn't kill Sarah. She couldn't possibly have known. And it shows that Quentin, for as much as he's sometimes distant and cold, he does have some emotional intelligence. And it shows that he doesn't blame her for Sarah's death. These are all very important things. And with just one gesture, so much is communicated. Just, yeah. I really appreciate how much, like, they pack so much into this show. These episodes of the show. Right. When Thea goes to Roy, and it is, I appreciate him pointing out, I was waiting for this because I was also sitting there thinking, so were we in the audience. Because, like, she knew the exact time, she knows where he lives. Of course she's going to go and try to talk him out of it. And the thing about how let's see, she's there's a mysterious voice saying Roy Harper. I really liked when they let him use his normal voice a couple of times, especially talking to Oliver. That was, it wouldn't have worked as well if he was still using the voice modulator there. But yeah, inject him with the what's it called again? The sedative. And he tried to fight back. He grabs the gun, but as many times as he presses the trigger, it's empty. It's empty. And it's one of those things, if he actually had, he would have had to live with having killed someone. And yes, sure, self-defense and all, but and that is, it's also an interesting, because, like, the savior sees himself as saving people, as making the world a better place, but that's not how they, like, he has to knock away Thea. What has she done? She's just there, but that's, that happens. And she was specifically there to help him be a better person. And the savior just sees another gangbanger, and he brings up his wife again. And that is the thing. Like, he is essentially getting revenge for his wife. Understandable, but he tells himself that he's making the world a better place. And Oliver points out, you're not giving, you have to give them a chance to do better. Which Oliver does as much as he can. Let's see. I think that does bring us... let's see. I mean, obviously, let's see. There's the flashbacks. And there is the subway. That might actually be everything. Okay. So I feel like I'm missing some. I'll do those, and then maybe I'll remember. But yeah. So clever about, right. They listen to the sound, and Dig is like, I know that, and the thing about, it's like moving over speed bumps or something, like a car, bigger than a car, a country. No, that doesn't make sense. And yeah, Dig is like, oh, but there used to be a subway. That's how a subway sounds. This guy's, he works in transportation. He would know how to run the subway still, and that's how he seemed to be at different locations. Very, very nicely done. Yeah. And I really appreciated, like, Oliver ends up spending most of the episode just trying to get to the guy, that he wants to stop, after we thought he would get to, we thought it would be about Nickel. And yeah, he, it seemed like he would get to him within the first several minutes of the episode. So yeah, Um, I think, but yeah. So great tension about can they find him in time, and I was sitting there thinking that he was going to be able to save the DA. Very, very effective. Because again, there have been a lot of last minute saves on the show, stuff where he gets there just in time to stop, and yeah, and then Roy, and so they have to find, yeah, and him standing there, great shot with we see the eye makeup and the hoods, like I forget, flapping in the gust of wind from the subway, and the subway's real close to him. Great shot. Looks so, just, yeah, very striking image again. And yeah, he gets on, and I also quite appreciate he doesn't just immediately fire an arrow. He throws a little arrow so that Roy can use it, and it's street smarts. Roy is used to adapting to situations. And yeah, he tries to talk to him, and he says, I'm sorry about your wife, but this isn't right. And the thing about, yeah, he's like, I'm just, I'm making Starling City a better place, just like you are. What makes you so different from me? I'm not wearing hockey pads. Sorry, wrong DC. Um, and yeah, he manages. Roy manages to get free, and then and I also love the way that the Savior keeps turning to look at Roy. So we also know he's either gonna have to be extremely fast, or Arrow shoots him. But if Arrow just shoots him while Savior has the gun in his hand, like there's a chance he could just pull the trigger, and so ends up doing it right after he pulls the trigger. Roy ducks, and yeah, really nicely done on that. Let's see. I think, yeah, that pretty well leaves us. So there's the last couple of scenes wrapping up, and then the flashback. So I guess I'll talk some about the wrap up. And yeah, the thing about Roy, he's my friend. So I guess they're not labeling it yet, because it looked like that was more than, I don't know, maybe tonsil hockey is something you do with your friends now. I don't keep up on how young people date. But the yeah, let's see. I think that does pretty well. Right, the thing about she's really worried about him because the feed was cut and they don't know what happened to him, and then she gets a text from him. Look to your left, and she looks, and he's right there. And it's so freaking sweet. Just yeah. And yeah, Oliver, Felicity saying, so your your sister's friend is back and up in the club, huh? I guess you saw that she was real happy to see him, which you don't want to talk about because she's your sister, and she does the little 180 on the chair because she realizes she put her, yeah, she stepped in it again, put her foot in her mouth. And I think that does pretty well cover, because I think all of the other stuff. I really liked him saying to Felicity, if you need to talk about your day, you can talk to me, and this little thing, he puts his hand on her shoulder, and it's very clear, it is just, it's not sexual. He's not like going too far or anything, and yeah, she needed a little bit, that just tiny little bit of, does that even count as a gesture of affection? But I think you know what I'm talking about. It's, yeah, like I think of a hug or hand holding hands might be going too far for, the situation, but just, hand on shoulder. Yeah. Yeah. So the flashbacks. So yeah, they're still dealing with the circuit board and the thing about, um, on the radio, the thing about, um, I can get you a boat. And then Oliver, A for effort. Your energy, 100%. You're in the zone. Strategy, I'm glad Slade takes over. He's like, you have an hour, Fireson, or we break. Obviously realize you can't get it in an hour. What we're saying is, don't dawdle. And the thing about Slade, still giving orders. And they go yeah, it seems like the Fireson might for once be true to his word, but yeah, he had his men comb the desert, and they didn't find anything. The rebels were nowhere around, but yeah, they found the circuit board, and that's hence the threatening, the yeah, Yao Fei's daughter, which, like, holy crap. And that's the thing, Yao Fei has been thinking, she's safe as long as I do as he tells me to, but and he of course is shocked, but they just knock him with the gun, and then Fireson is about to like, yeah, the whole, hell breaks loose. And yeah, very, very cool with, several people, yeah. And Yao Fei's daughter, she is much more effective than I would have guessed. Holy crap. Very, very cool. And yeah, they managed to get a little bit away. Then Yao Fei takes a bullet, and again, like, it sucks, but he's not wrong that he would slow them down. And I do think ultimately there's a chance that they want Yao Fei, that Fireson and co want would prefer to have Yao Fei alive, because that gives them some leverage. They could say, let's trade. You can, well, I guess they wouldn't want to give Yao Fei, but certainly they would have more leverage over Yao Fei if they had both him and his daughter. So they might try to get her back. But yeah, dead Yao Fei doesn't really accomplish anything for them particularly. So I can imagine it was him getting recaptured. But yeah, they realize, he has the circuit board, and they talk about, we don't even know what he's planning. And yeah, she does. So very excited to find out what that is. Yeah. And then we of course have, there's a little bit more that I haven't said yet about, so Moira, I mean, I understand. I don't know if saying, had to give Merlin everything was 100% accurate, and but yeah, she genuinely has learned to be ruthless. She does at least say, please don't kill the family, no women, no kids. And I think that does, yeah, like, holy crap, because technically it's, yeah, the circumstantial evidence pointed to Frank, didn't it? It was his, and she got the information earlier. There was the thing about, oh, it was through offshore. That's good. Good thinking. And then she gave Merlin the information that Frank gave to reassure Moira. She used that to have him killed. She really, yeah. And I feel like they're doing such a good job just to walk in that razor's edge, because like we could so easily come to just despise her. But she did say, please don't kill the family. And it's like, the more you say stuff like that, the more you risk getting found out yourself that you were a part of it. Like, why don't you hate him and his family? But she does point out that it was him who did it. It wasn't his family. They had no part in this. Apparently she doesn't know that that's Merlin, because she says, tell Mr. Merlin that. Which is also smart of him to keep that from them. I doubt she's the only one who doesn't know. Yeah, just fantastic. And her breaking down sobbing with the blood on her hands, just holy crap. Yeah. I think that pretty well brings us... Is there anything left that... I like the element that Savior gives them, chance to make their case, And yeah, the thing about, he's the one who provides, the lead in our pipes, the asbestos in our walls, and okay, so Landlord's already terrible. If you don't already agree with that, watch Thought Slime's, I think he did more than one video, I forget. Right, I forget if Thought Slime... Yeah, Thought Slime might be a they, not a... I'm not trying to misgender here. But yeah, one or more videos by Thought Slime. Yeah, Slumlords, even worse. And he, boy, he actually says he said it. It's the Leo pointing at screen meme. Without me, those people would be out on the streets. As if that justifies you. Yes, I'm sure that they were, that as they froze and burnt to death, they were just thinking, boy, am I glad that slumlord made sure I had a place to live. Like, holy crap. Let's see. I certainly respect if it was purposeful that we weren't maybe it's just me, but maybe we genuinely weren't meant to be sure if the DA, if that was him going too far or if he was right, because it does also, yeah, I can see it both ways. Yeah. And when he gets to Roy, he doesn't even make a defense, He says that he is worthless, which obviously he's not. No human being is truly worthless, and if there are people in your social circle who are saying that, see if you can cut them out of your life. That's really toxic behavior. And it's just so devastating that that's actually how Roy feels about himself, and it cuts to Thea, and it's just this thing of like, I think he actually does directly, he uses the same word as as her, or something very similar. She says something like, "You're just a waste," and he says, "Yeah, I think didn't he say I'm just a waste or something like that?" So yeah, that's obviously not something that, and that again, keep in mind, after she said that, she did come back and try to talk him out of it, and she was thinking he's gonna keep being involved in this violent crime, and she's in part trying to stop him from that, and in part also just, yeah, upset that she, it's difficult when you have really strong romantic feelings for someone that you then realize, oh, they're doing really bad things, they're taking evil actions. Um, yeah, that was really really well done. And yeah, I appreciated the fact that afterwards, yeah, like they're okay again, because he does know she didn't really think that there's no, she believes that he can do better. That's all she wants. Right, that was another thing. Ah, crap, where was I? Let's see. Rewind the train of thought. Back to the dock. Let's see. We have he's saying that, and she said, and let's see. Right. I wonder if Felicity talking about wow, they were real happy to see you. I guess you don't want to talk about that. I really do appreciate it. She's just glad to see other people happy with their love lives, Um I mean, she doesn't even really know Roy or Thea. She's just aware that they exist, and she's still like, good for them. But yeah, I wonder if Oliver is gonna regret saving Roy's life, if he's gonna walk in on him and Thea and be like, ugh. um, yeah. I do also wonder the close up on Thea, when she and everyone else hears Roy say, if you killed me, no one would even miss me. And I'm wondering if she's standing there thinking, wow, so, okay, gee, thanks, so I'm just like chopped liver,